Hello, my dear friends. My name is Mario Pedro Gould. You are now tuned into the Alpha Success Television Network. I am very excited for you today because I have a message that I have been planning to create all week, but I just never got the time to. And today, I said, hey, you know what? While this message is still fresh in my consciousness, I'm going to bring it out to you, and it's going to be a message that is going to be as real as it gets, as real as it gets. I want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, using your insecurities to move you forward in life, to power you on forward towards your journey, to motivate you and inspire you to be a greater person than you presently are today, as you continue on your progression on a day-to-day basis. This conversation is very important because I do not know where it came from, but usually we have a negative relationship to our insecurities. We look at our insecurities as things that we should not have, and therefore we actually reject ourselves for having insecurities within us. Now, in my own life, I have learned as time has progressed, as I have gotten older, I have learned that for me, the presence of insecurities in my life, I don't know if it's how I view life, but the presence of insecurities in my life is actually one of the main reasons I have been able to create a significant amount of success in my life on a holistic scale: body, mind, soul, financially, relationally, socially. Influence has come from the insecurities that I have. Even intellectually, my performance, in the educational circles has come from my insecurities. So nowadays, I have a very healthy relationship with my insecurities. I use them to spur me on to higher and higher levels of greatness. If those insecurities were not there, I may succumb to mediocrity. So, what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I want to invite you to look at some of the insecurities that you have. Be brutally honest with yourself and look at the insecurities that you have and ask yourself, what is your relationship? What is the relationship you have to those insecurities? Do you view yourself as lesser of a man, as lesser of a woman, because you have certain insecurities, within your consciousness, if I may use that word? The second thing I want to be doing here today is I'm going to share with you a couple of key examples in my own life that gave me some very strong insecurities and how I have turned those insecurities around to propel me to phenomenal levels of success in my life. And the crazy thing is that I haven't even scratched the surface of the impact I'm going to create in the world. I'm going to create a mega phenomenal impact in the world. When I die, I'm going to leave a significant amount of change for my soul being in this plane. And a big part of it has to do with insecurities that I have. So we're going to look at let's look at a couple of simple ones in my own life, and then I want you to do the same with your own life and see how you can use them in a positive manner. One of the major insecurities I have always had in my life has pertained to the subject of money, the subject of being wealthy, being rich, being successful. When I was growing up, ladies and gentlemen, even though I came from what I would call a middle class family, I wasn't like starving on the street without any shelter. I had food to eat. But when I was growing up as a child, there are certain things that children need to receive from their parents to make them feel like they're loved, if I can just use those terms right now. So I remember when I was growing up, I didn't receive very simple things. I wouldn't receive the video games that all my peers used to have. I didn't receive the board games that all my peers used to have. And I can remember very clearly My neighbors had all these toys and all these board games, and I never had any. And therefore, I felt lesser than my peers. When I got a little bit older, my early teens, I remember very vividly my dad went to the United Kingdom, and he came back from the United Kingdom, and he had done a significant amount of shopping. He had bought himself some very nice clothes. And when he was opening up his suitcase, taking off his clothes, I was sitting there, so excited and waiting for my own clothes to come out of the suitcase. And there was nothing. He didn't get me any clothes. And therefore, when I went out, when you're in your early teens, when you go out and you start discovering yourself as a man and discovering the members of the opposite sex, I felt lesser because I didn't have nice clothes compared to my peers. And this is something that I experienced very powerfully in my teenage years, because I just happened to be surrounded. I did very well in my primary school, so I went to a private secondary school, and therefore I was surrounded by people that were actually wealthy. And I felt that because I didn't have any money, I wasn't able to date the same women that my peers used to date. And this had a very significant impact on me as it pertains to the subject of money. And I vowed to myself at a very, very young age that I am going to be rich, wealthy, powerful, and famous. And at the age of 13, 14, I got into entrepreneurship. I started buying and selling things, buying and selling things, buying and selling things. In class, when the teacher is teaching, I was buying cakes from one of my classmates, his mother's factory, wholesale, and I'd break it down and sell it in class. Everybody's learning mathematics, I'm doing my own mathematics. The insecurity that I have of not having money spurred me forward to be very entrepreneurial at a very young age. And as I've gotten older, this insecurity still exists, although in a more manageable manner, because I've developed a higher level of consciousness. I have worked on myself emotionally. I've worked on my intellect. I've worked on understanding how my mind works and using it for me as opposed to against me. But the insecurity is still there, especially when I look at the world and observe that very clearly, that the world is controlled by the people who have money. And if you don't have money, you're pretty much shit. Where I come from, in Africa, if you don't have money, you're just finished. I notice in the Western society too, if you don't have money, especially in Vancouver, Vancouver is, wow, there's so much pressure to be successful in Vancouver. If you don't have money in Vancouver, you can very clearly see the separation between you and those who have. So that insecurity still actually exists within me as I'm getting older, and I'm seeing how the world works, and I'm using that insecurity to spur me on and motivate me on to move farther and farther and farther into higher levels of success, so that I can position myself in a place whereby I have enough money. I'm not going to say money is the sole provider of joy and happiness, but I have enough money to keep me comfortable enough in my consciousness to know that I am secure as it pertains to the money department. So this is a very deep insecurity that I'm using to spur me on, and has been a significant fire starter, if I may use this words, towards my journey to be successful. I'm extremely, 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 extremely ambitious because of that. So you see what I'm talking about? Look at your own life. What is the main insecurity that you have that you can use to move you on, to move you on, to move you on towards your journey of milk and honey, your journey of success, your journey of awakening, your journey of realization, your journey of manifestation? We can do this all day. Let me give you another perfect example. Another insecurity that I always had was that when somebody said no to me, I really felt it extremely deeply in my core. Rejection. When I am rejected, someone says no to me, I find it very difficult to deal with it, especially when I was younger. Because I remember very clearly, at the age of 16, and this is connected to the first insecurity, at the age of 16, the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. She was half Italian, she was half Kenyan, she was from a very, very wealthy family. She said no to me and my advances. I did all the Romeo stuff, the roses, the teddy bear, the beautiful note, and she said no to me. And ladies and gentlemen, that no that I received when I was 16 really affected me when I grew up, because I felt that anytime somebody said no to me, it meant that I was less. So I am driven so much to face more and more and more rejection so I can kill that fear. So the more I face rejection, the more I become stronger. So my life has always been a repetitive journey towards things that expose me to significant amounts of rejection. I'm in business. You face a lot of rejection in business. I have one business that's in the network marketing industry, which is sales, marketing, and promotion. You face a lot of rejection there. So I'm always going head on into situations where I face rejection. I approach the most beautiful women on earth when I meet them, because I want to overcome my fear of rejection. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen, the more I use my insecurity, that is the fear of rejection, to spur me on to make more prospecting calls for my business so I can overcome the rejection, to approach the most beautiful ladies so I can overcome rejection. The result is I'm going to achieve phenomenal amount of success, in my business. The end of the story, I'm going to get the most beautiful woman that, in my opinion, walks on this planet, because I'm always looking for 15 out of 10, because I want to overcome my fear of rejection. I always look at it like a challenge. These are insecurities that I have. I share with you these insecurities because I want you to take your own insecurities and really see how you can begin to use them to move you forward. Instead of having a negative relationship with your insecurities, I want you to look at them and say, okay, I am going to use these insecurities and I'm going to actually move myself further and further and further ahead in the game of life because I have these insecurities. As opposed to having insecurities and looking at yourself like you're not worthy, like you're less than, like you're stupid, like you're dumb because you have insecurities. Insecurities, ladies and gentlemen, is what can actually give you a significant amount of confidence to penetrate the world with so much masculine force, if I can use those terms. For the ladies, insecurities can give you enough motivation and inspiration to be receptive to the world with a significant amount of feminine grace. I love that. I gotta play this back and watch it myself so I can learn from it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm wishing you a phenomenal week as always, and I'm so happy that I brought this out to you. So happy that I brought this out to you because it's been one of my key competitive advantages in the game of life, and I hope it could be the same for you. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.